Oh man, that's the story, isn't it? Tom and I were roommates in San Francisco.
Right. Okay. You
And
did mention that. Yeah.
yeah, it was like a happy accident. I was looking for a place to live. His roommate was trying to give up her half of their apartment
Yeah.
in Mission Bay in San Francisco. And I was like, yeah, that's exactly where I want to be. Oh, but he told me no. He's like, sorry, man, I've already promised it to another friend. And I was like, oh, okay. And then he called me back like a month later. He was like, hey, my friend didn't work out. Are you still looking for a place? And I was like, yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, we took
That's
up residence.
Hey. Oh, yeah. Is that good?
I can hear you.
Yeah, Sean and I were just getting to know each other. He was asking how you and I met. Yeah, he was like, how do you know Tom? So that story came out.
Yeah. Because I remember San Francisco and roommates, but that's the extent of what I got.
Okay. We can tell you the story.
It's too late, man.
And you already told him? Oh, okay.
Yeah. I heard it.
Oh wow. What did you think?
Destiny, it works in mysterious ways. What wasn't going to work out ended up working out, and fast forward to now, it's a good thing.
Sean, what you didn't hear was Tom introduced me to my partner who I have kids with now.
Nice.
That's the second phase of the story.
That's a nice one. That's a nice touch.
Matchmaker.
Yeah. It's a good thing.
Sure, man. Thank you so much for joining us.
Of course.
I see you as a total genius. I love everything that you do, from the capturing the brainwaves to the color to the chromotherapy, which is something I've personally deep dived into this year. And I just think you're very, very inspiring. And I can't wait to ask you some questions.
No, thank you for wanting me to be a part of this. You can deep dive however much you want to. There's a lot of new stuff is happening since we last talked, but all still on those same guidelines. So.
Oh, man. You're so welcome, my friend. Wait, did we not give Sean the memo on where to wear the exact same hoodie? Wait, what's going on there?
The hosts are perfect. You guys are matching.
Yeah.
It worked.
How did we do it? Yeah. I had that joke lined up myself. I was like, look, we're matching. How did that? We didn't even plan that. I love it.
I was trying to get it out on the other platform, but it didn't land the same.
Oh, I loved your impression though. That was good.
That was fun. Yeah, that was nice.
We're going to give Sean the introduction, and we do as many takes as we have to, Sean. Usually Tom hits it in one.
Got it.
And I love the dual microphone. How'd you pull that off? That's slick. Yeah,
that's cool.
That's good.
Probably I don't need one. I don't know which one doesn't work. So.
All right. Welcome to Truly Becoming.
Oh, we're doing the intro. That's cool.
Yeah.
Truly Becoming. This is a place where we discover inspiring stories of real people who have actually turned their dreams into reality. And we learn how they did it. And it's playfully presented by the American Colin Travers.
And the inspiring Englishman, Tom Rope.
One of my favorite artists, one of my favorite visual artists, who I was very fortunate to meet once upon a time, Sean Crim, who I think should introduce himself. Who is Sean Crim?
Sean Crim. Well, first off, thank you both for having me. Grateful to be on this. Grateful to have this conversation. I'm Sean Crim. I'm an artist based in between LA and Atlanta now. I'm in a new body of work in Atlanta, which is actually where I grew up. So, little backstory. Art's been a part of my life, my whole life, ever since I could remember, earliest memory. Grew up in Atlanta. High school took me to DC. Then in college, went to Wake Forest and studied finance and studio art. So it was a combination of both. So, and then tried to work in commercial real estate for a little less than 2 years. Did not work out at all. Art called me back in, and then I've been doing it ever since for the last 9 years. So that's just a little bit about me. I can go into my focus now, or we can wait on that.
Let me hit you with a joke that I'm going to guess more than one person will think about. Do you ever introduce yourself, Sean Crim, the Independent, by chance?
No, I can now. I like that.
That's the Ted Lasso joke.
Yeah.
Everybody who's an Apple Ted Lasso fan.
Oh, there's a character, right? Called Trent Crib.
Trent Crib. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, have you watched Ted Lasso, Sean?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Sean, I'm so sorry. When I was in bed with my wife last night, she's like, hey, who are you talking to tomorrow? I said, Sean Crim, the Independent. And then, I ruined the joke because I was like, from Ted Lasso. She's like, yeah, I got it.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah, nice.
Sure. Oh my God.
He also has long hair too, which fits.
He does.
Yeah, he does.
So we can be a double today.
Yeah, let me dive in one more question. I would like to know, we've done this for Tommy me and Tommy for you, Sean. I want to know how you and Tommy met and just how that started. And because that's why we're here together. You two know each other, which is lovely.
We met over art. So it was a gallerist that I showed with Johan Anderson at Art Unified. And we met at the LA Art Fair. Brief conversations, a lot of people around. And then where it really got into a deeper, long conversation was Tom came to my studio in downtown LA in the Arts District. And that's when he got to experience more of my art, kind of, and hear the whole story and the meanings behind it, which then kind of transcended into a deeper conversation over life, which is, as you'll hear, which is what my art is about, like the internalization of self. So that was how we met.
I want to add to that because that was beautiful. Oh man, I remember looking into a piece of your work. It's like a mirror with all the colors around it. I'm so happy you were there because I was just taken aback and fascinated by everything that you had to say on the philosophy behind what you do, which we'll dive into today. And you invited me to your studio, which I was an honor. I wasn't quite sure what to expect. Man, it's just huge space. And like spoke to my childhood, huge, big white space infused with color, which is a very sort of meaningful metaphor to me. And I just felt like I was in the right place at the right time. And everything you showed me next was just incredible, educationally remarkable. And I can't wait to learn more about what we do today. I wanted to kickstart because you mentioned something earlier. You said earliest memory. Sure. Can you remember the precise moment in time where you discovered yourself as an artist?
Yes. One moment honestly sticks out the most. I was because I remember drawing and painting and like that's how I connected. But the one thing that kind of has stuck with me since is either pre-first or first grade. So I went to like in between kindergarten and first grade, went to pre-first at the school I went to. And we always had these like art nights. And it was the first time I was drawing and painting. Wayne Gretzky was my favorite hockey player. And the funny thing was like, it was like a relatively like detailed, realistic, like in action. And I ended up talking to all the parents about it. And it was like, how can like a 6, 7-year-old communicate and have these long conversations? Because I played hockey growing up ever since I was 4. And it was just like the only reason why I'm having these conversations with these adults and they're asking me like, tell me about how they grew up in the sports they played and why they like hockey and all these things was through art. So it's like, how can I connect with someone who we don't really have anything in common? Age gap is insane, yet we can connect over something that I've been given the ability to do. And it was kind of like that gateway to share something that I can do and express to then engage and open up into someone else's like world. And that was probably the first time that I was just like, oh, there's a power within this gift that I've been given beyond just the action.
Wow. That's a very early realization. That's incredible that you had some of those things occur to you at that young age. You just kicked up so many memories of my childhood because I used to get like all the gifts I would get. Usually one family member would get like charcoal pencil kit or, they'd go on travel somewhere. They'd find some kind of unique colored pencil or drawing pad. I remember. And to have that occur to me that young would have been so fascinating. I understood how that we were communicating at a level that transcended our age and kind of experience in life. That's a really cool thing to hear. I love that.
Sean, you're a storyteller from a very young age. Why visual art?
Because it can be interpreted in so many different ways. Like I would say visual art, a lot of people can relate to it. Like if you and that's kind of like my journey, like which I'll say briefly, like I kind of emotionally shut off up until like 2016, 2017. Up until like life situations was like, okay. But so like for my art, it was always, I could relate to hyperrealism and realism because I was like, I can get from an A to a B. But for me, abstract work and that emotional like expression wasn't clicking yet. So I struggled with that up until I realized I have to feel everything of like what I'm going through, like later in life. So for me, that actually helped of understanding ways to connect with people and how visual art, there's so many different ways, one, to create it, but then two, you leave the viewer so many different like open ends for them to connect with it themselves. And so many different mediums when you really dive into it that you can use to tell what you're trying to say. I don't stick to just painting. I like to incorporate a lot of light, like using tumbleweeds now, like a lot of different, whether it's machine made, handmade, nature made. It's what medium can I use to tell and interpret what I'm trying to do. And like visual art, in my opinion, is the best way for that and the best way I can take action within it to express that.
Beautifully said. And for the listeners, behind Sean's mind right now are a couple of, I'd say, a choice of bold color and some neutral tones as well, on what looks like canvas with strikes of neon light coming right through. Out of people who have bought your work before or simply viewed it in a gallery, what was there any sort of remarks in particular that stood out to you the most on how someone may have reacted to it?
It depends on, I could also speak on these. These are two pieces, like gateway pieces, I like to call them. Pieces that I have to do to get to what I'm doing next. All on renewal and transparency. And within renewal, you have to you need to be transparent with yourself because you're shedding a lot of old, walking into a lot of new. So the neon, when you turn it off, is transparent. And the shapes, it's all made out of Georgia red clay that I got from where I first felt renewal and then have made into a paste to paint with it. And those are the movement, my actual brainwaves while I was holding that Georgia red clay in those locations where I grew up. So it's this layered description and depiction of transparency in a state of renewal going from past to present and combining it all into this layered form. To then answer your question on how people react, most people, it depends on going from the infinity mirrors, which is a complete emotional self-reflection, and really bringing the viewer into the art. And so they ended up being part of the piece, to more of the gestural, colorful neon pieces. The overall consensus is you see more about your own self than you did prior. And that's kind of like when you walked into my studio, you gravitate towards where you are at in the present moment. And that's kind of the general consensus of, and why I like to use different mediums, because people then can relate and pull themselves to different places. So I like to not, I did a couple of pieces where you could see the brain waves, and that's where I don't like the brain, because then you grab onto that. Versus making it more abstracted and taking away form and just leaving color, movement, and texture, which is what the infinity meters are. In a way, you just didn't see yourself. You see more of you.
Oh, man, that is fascinating. What a description. So you're bringing up the brain waves. That's your EEG technology.
Mm-hmm.
When did you stumble upon that? Why did technology like that become so important to then translate into what you've described as the abstract art? This is where I'm at, actually, literally, right? In a sense, this is where my brain waves are when I'm in with the Georgia red clay or other places and states of being. And then you were like, hey, let's find the technology that helps me visualize that. How did that happen?
So, the best way to start is my work's all about conceptualizing emotion. So how can you see and visualize what emotion is? And I've come to the conclusion that there's really three ways. There's neural oscillation, so brain waves, all of that technology. Then there's color psychology. So you tap into color theory, how emotions can relate to certain colors and how that can change over time. And then it's space perception. So that's where light comes into play. How do you feel? You feel internalize around your aura per se, and then how you project and you feel outward. So it's those three things that I tap into. So how the brainwave stuff came into play was didn't know what was this is personal life. Didn't know what was going on personally. I could not understand why I went into these really deep, dark holes, would be fine and then would die. And my mom has worked with the Amen Clinic for a long time and always pushed for me to go. And I finally went back in 2018. And that was the first time understanding and looking at two brain scans where the psychiatrist could sit with me and be like, okay, this is why this anger happens. This is why this happens. This is what alcohol does to your brain, et cetera, et cetera. I was like, wait, so you can look at these scans and pretty much tell me what's going on with me. So I was like, oh, this is a cool visual map of the chemistry of me and how that can then change over time and you can come up to rewire your brain, all that good stuff. Fast forward when I went from more realistic work and had content within my work to more abstract work. It took a couple of years, but it was then in 2020 where I wanted to incorporate movement, which came into the neon. And when I first started working with the neon, and then it just kind of progressed into, okay, I did a show and it had brainwaves, but they weren't mine. And I was like, how can I incorporate my own brainwaves and make it even more personal and intentional? And that's when I thought of the Amen Clinic again. And I was like, okay, I can't sit in a giant machine and do these things. So I was like, I found what EEG is and the headsets. And I was like, I can actually put those on, look at these infinity mirrors that I made, set an intention of what this self dyad is going to be, and watch not just what brainwaves are activated in the location of my brain, but then what metrics are being measured. So like excitement, stress, engagement, attention, all those things that are measured with like the headset that I use, I can see. So the two neon pieces behind me are my like levels of excitement during that session with George Red Clay that I was measuring. So it was another tool that came from my own personal journey and understanding myself.
The side of you that can creatively see how a tool that's technologically based, purely driven for the medical side, right? Like there's so much out there that we have that can inspire this part of potentially your output. In your case, it's the visual art, it's the neon, it's your other pieces as well. You saw that and you saw how it could help you better understand yourself, but also better represent the works you were creating, and then allow that to impact the masses as it does. I'm such a fan of sci-fi, comic books, and to see your art in this way blends technology with expression and visual art. For me, I get like super giddy about it. I'm like, wow, that's so cool, man. And I see the neon and I'm like, ooh, how does the neon play it? I want to be a part of that too. Yeah, it's fascinating.
Thank you.
Wow. And how like the neon sort of has a very, very specific tailored measured meaning on a personal level. You do commissions, right? So like if someone wanted to walk themselves through the process that you went through, where they are interested in looking inward and understanding why various emotions are at play and have them recorded, it's almost like taking the stigma of psychotherapy to a very exciting, consumer-friendly, positive experience, and just being able to like see what's going on inside and understand it through a combination of, as you say, like color and space perception. You can actually take that from someone's brain, from someone's mind, what I'm feeling right now, and you can create neon piping and put that on a canvas with the colors are at play so that I can better understand myself.
Yeah, so there's different ways that I've done commission pieces. So I can hit it in kind of like 3 different points. The first point with like, since you've seen the infinity mirrors, like the ones that you saw, they're on these stands. They're like 8 feet tall. The mirrors themselves are about little over 5 feet. I had a collector come in. She flew in. This was in LA. Put on the headset. Gave her the intention of authenticity. So like, what color when you see grounds you? Okay, then let's like go to the mirrors and while like your brain's being scanned, just stare at yourself with the intention of like authenticity. I did it in an all black room. So the only thing you can really attach yourself to is yourself and the colors that are around you. So that piece, like there was no neon. All we did was that session, which was about 3 hours. And it was just like, I was a soundboard and just had her guided her with the intentionality and then just listened. And what I then took was, after we like were talking, I was hearing what she was like feeling and what was coming up. And then I took stills of that video and then just made a painting of her brain waves in like an abstracted way, but you can pull up the scans and look at the painting and be like, okay, I get it. And that was a more kind of like organic, traditional painting form. She has another like piece of like neon too, different. But that's like one way, very traditional. You're taking technology and putting it in a very like traditional painting form. Verse, kind of then you go into color psychology and it's like, okay, let's do this, but then let's do it through movement and motion, which ties into neon. So you can add neon or you don't have to add neon, but you can also distort the neon. So a recent commission was they wanted this like exciting, bright piece, and then colors that related and were like very personal to them. So like rose was part of that, turquoise was another. They didn't like the linear aspect of looking at kind of like what the metrics are, and they liked a lot of like my curving neon. So what I did is you just distort it. Like you soften the edges and you make what it was, but then you pretty much just bend and manipulate that line into something that's more fluid, more organic. Still has the intentionality, but it's just a different way to see it. So that's where it just comes into play on the commissions of like, what are they looking for? What do they want? And instead of saying it needs to be my way, it's like my way transforms in different ways. Like the pieces that I'm doing now, there's going to be more distortion and then more clarity. When you look within and look within yourself, nothing's ever clear. Even when you think something's clear, if you really look at it, there's more levels to it. So that's how I kind of look at art, on what the meaning I really want it to be? What is the story I want to tell? And then how do I want to tell it? So that's where the alignment for commissions that hit different parts of my work are. So it just ranges. Like I've done the infinity mirrors. It's like, okay, what colors do you want? And then it's in alignment with my work, but then kind of more adapted and more personal to them in that emotional form.
And the clarity you speak of and the many levels is just like a relationship. Now, this is a relationship with ourselves through your art. I have a question.
It's hearing.
And my rationale behind it, and I can scratch this bit up, because I think between Colin and I, we probably know a lot of people that would probably love to go through this experience and ultimately have their own art curated by you.
Yeah, just me.
So
Yeah.
I'm going to make a playful request, definitely me and Colin in this experience right now. And anyone who's listening to this, is there something that you can do? We don't have the headsets on right now, but can we do something where maybe we close our eyes and you walk us through a semi-simulation of what the experience of having that commission by you would be like? Is that at all possible?
Yeah. So what I would do for this form is, so this is more of like the painting the neon form. You don't like, I like the brainwaves in the scientific form because it allows you to see within yourself of what you normally can't see. And that's why I brought it in. Because when I was like, I don't know what's going on with myself. I just want to see that. That's where that comes into play. Like that's not always accessible. So what is accessible and how I would normally start these conversations, if like, okay, we're doing a piece on this podcast, right? And then or even individually, the first question I would ask is, how do you want it to feel?
Everyone listening, as long as you're not driving, close your eyes.
Okay, so what I want you to express is, how do you want this piece to feel? What do you want it to come up for you? And then from that, what colors resonate with that for you specifically?
Go first, Tommy.
Do we come back once we feel it?
But honestly,
I'm fucking ready. I've got all kinds of emotional angst.
But don't try to think just what initially hits you, because that's that subconscious that you want to make conscious. So like you want form that's sitting there, that initial gut feeling with this. If you think about it more, you more suppress your subconscious feelings and you can rationalize it. And that's what I try to stay away from.
Okay, so one emotion and one color, and it's got to be the first image that comes up.
What do you want a piece to feel like? So what are feelings that resonate to you? And are there colors that initially pop up that relate to that feeling?
Yes. All right. Straight away. Like oral wonder, and rose pink, like an electric rose pink. Yeah.
In the awe, how does that feel? Is that like a smooth awe? Is that a bright awe? Is that like electric?
Big and bright light.
Okay. So more like a firework feeling. Like that's something that's like shock and awe.
Absolutely. But positively.
Got it. Okay. We'll start there. Colin?
Yeah, for me, it was warmth and nurturing. This is what I'm after. I immediately saw reds and pinks. If I had to give them a sheen, I would say they were probably dull, matte, as it were. Yeah, that's, and then I think my conscious brain kicked in because I'm like, oh, but I got to include all the colors of the rainbow. You love blue. And, I started to really get more into that conscious space. But that was the first thing I thought of.
But Colin, that makes sense. So when you first think of that, how I kind of like, you then can add in the subtle to give all these different colors. So like both of you both of you are going towards that like warmth, that brightness. Both hit pinks and roses. Rose, I think for both of you would hit because when you're looking at a red and a pink, rose is that like warmth within it. It's that like excitement, that energy, yet it's still calm. It's not as big as like that alert, like bright red. And if you want to have that like bright warmth red, it's more of like an orange hue within it. But then for both of you, in my opinion, you would have that be very gestural, very texturalized for that color. And then you add in softer blues, you add in some teals because you want to create that subtle contrast. And that's where you have that nurturing feeling because you bring in that tranquility. Not any bright blues, and then you'll have the subtle, very detailed darks. Because I think that those, in my opinion, are always lingering. It's like that emotional thing of every time you think something's great, there's always like, okay, what's on the other side? What's that? And like, even if you don't know it, it's conscious. Mm-hmm. So like this piece, how I would do it for you is a very abstract, specific, like, and I say color psychology more than color theory, because color theory is more scientific, it's more approachable. But with color psychology, it's more related to personal emotions. And so that's how you can get away from what the theory of it actually is. And that's why it can change. Like I used to not like forest green, and then I had to say, okay, why do I not like it? I like the school I went to growing up. And then I finally did that work. And I was like, oh, wait, it's a beautiful color. Now I love it. Now I could see what like the theory of it and the like meanings behind it are. But that's why I love color psychology and why I ask, when you say that emotion, what color immediately pops up? Because that's what I wanted. Like that's the psychological part of it. So this is when I was describing like the conceptualization of emotion. This piece without the technology is more of like that color psychological like piece, that abstract meaning. And then that's when you can add in the neon where you don't necessarily have to have it be related to any scientific data. It could then be like, okay, let's go into the childlike form of how does that, and that's Tom why I asked about what does it look like? Because if you want this bright, like then you have like this rose, kind of like a kid. I'm like example, like drawing like this over something. What is that subconscious movement? And that's how I first heard of neon. It's like, what is that kid-like movement that just comes out? That's very organic. That's very real. And honestly, if you take it, it looks very similar to brainwaves. And that's how I initially wanted to go into brainwaves because I tapped into that. So like for this piece overall, that's what this piece would be. It would just be this kind of like emotional conversation that where you can grab emotion and turn it into colors and you could turn it into movement. So that's why there would be no like jagged lines. Everything would be more fluid. That firework aspect is like if you spread something out, like if you take a gob of paint and literally throw it and let gravity do its thing. There's that movement in time and it freezes it. So the question, that is what this piece would be where you don't have to have that technology.
I didn't expect to, at this point in time in the conversation, have such a deeper understanding of art in general. And then specifically your art, because I think it's easy to look at art and just see without going any further. And I do believe it is helpful to have a guide. And I feel like you've provided such a wonderful guidance from start to finish when we just began talking about art in general, your art, and then this specific process. I mean, what a gift this was for Tommy and I. It's like, I did not expect to have this level. I mean, I'm looking at my own art, my kids' art. I'm just like, other art. I'm just like, wow, what was I doing? Look at this. Now I have such a deeper understanding of what I'm seeing and how to maybe better interact with it. That's more emotionally intact with myself. And then potentially, of course, I can lead into what the artist might be feeling. But it really is about self, isn't it? And where we're at.
Like if you do art with your kids, like I did with my niece, it's that joy. It's that subconscious flow why art's always pushed. It's that freedom of expression. And sure, you can guide them. And I've done a lot of pieces with my niece, especially when she was like younger than 2, where so you give them a color and say point there, but you let them, and then you watch, it's like over time, you can see how society depicts her like, okay, stay inside the lines, do this, do that. And it takes away that creative freedom. But if you can unravel where that creative freedom actually came from and have it then actual conversation with yourself, you learn more about who you are by just doing and creating. Kids remind you the most about why they just love to create.
Yeah, totally true. I've recently been drawing my kids' stuffed animals, and I did it on a whim a couple weeks ago. And the kind of experience that they had and how excited, and like I could see this, like I could just visually see this love just radiating off of my son. And I was like, whoa, I did not expect that. I thought I was just doing craft time with the kids and just giving myself a chance to draw something. It was a big deal. And so since then, I've got all these pieces in my kids' rooms of their stuffed friends being drawn. It's so impactful. I think it's so important to remember. I'm really happy that we're bubbling it up to the surface in this conversation.
It's that shared experience that adults also want.
Yes, absolutely. We need it, really. Yeah, it's essential.
Sure. Thank you for having us experience that. That was wonderful. I am curious, when we're attracted to specific colors for the most part, what psychological meaning behind that is. Like, are we seeking out a very specific feeling from it? Is there a spiritual meaning behind constantly seeing specific colors or being drawn to them?
I always think there is. I mean, but I look at everything. So I'll look at the spiritual meaning. I'll look at the theoretical meaning. I kind of want to see the whole picture of it. But it's also, on top of that, like meditate on it, get still with it. Be like, okay, why don't I like bright yellow? And that's where it's like, okay, yes, it means like excitement and all this stuff and like optimism or whatever it may be, which is great. Then you can kind of get that definition, but then make it personal. So like tap into like the theoretical part, tap into the like spiritual part, kind of get best of both worlds, but then like also focus on what resonates with you. Especially if a color meets something positive and it has a negative feeling with you, then it's like, okay, why? And
So
sit on it.
So for instance, like when I think of the color orange, immediately I feel negative emotions. However, I would say it's one of the colors I'm probably most drawn to. So it's like, what does that mean?
Well, so like a lot of people only look at the positive parts of what colors mean, but look at the negative parts because then you really start seeing it. It's like,
Yeah, the clarity,
I mean,
right?
this can be controversial, but it's like the whole love and light aspect. If you just sit in love and light, you don't look at your shadow. You don't look at all the parts of you. You can walk through the shadow and the darkness with love and light because you have to, but you need to see all of it. So if like that orange rubs you raw and like you don't like it, start researching, okay, the theoretical versions of what the negative aspects and definitions of orange. Okay, go to the spiritual side of it. Okay, how does then darkness within orange relate? Okay, then historically, like if you really want to just be like a nerd about it, look into that. And then again, just trust your gut. What resonates within all of that? Because then you'll start having that conversation with that color with yourself and kind of learn that, like, why it is that. Because you're like, oh, wait, that has nothing to do with orange. This experience happened. Can I move through that experience to release whatever it is to then actually now befriend orange and not like always be, because like once you kind of walk through that, you won't notice orange as much as you did. So that's kind of like that process. And that's why I love color psychology because you can incorporate everything.
Yeah. So curious. And then taking it a step further, maybe I can better understand this. And there's so many different ways to do it outside of just looking at yourself. I like how you described, research it, get a little nerdy about it, and then bring it back to yourself and see what's happening. That's an amazing amount of personal curiosity. I love that so much.
And we all just got a chromotherapy session. So, Sean, we've spoken about a lot of light, a lot of color, more glamorous side of art. You mentioned shadow, you mentioned darkness, you mentioned getting comfortable with the unknown. I invite you to go back to the Sean right at the beginning of an actual conscious pursuit of artistry. So I'm talking about the finance Sean, I'm talking about the commercial real estate Sean, I'm talking about the guy who was right at the beginning of this journey. And you look back through that story, where were the dark moments? Like, what were the challenges? So if there is a specific challenge that you really, really had to encounter in order and overcome in order for you to push yourself through or jump over whatever hurdle there was, like, can you tell us about the truly becoming aspect of the man, the artist you are today?
Yeah, of course. This is going to get heavy real fast, but it's the truth. So the depth of what I mentioned before, like why I wanted to go to the Amen Clinic, was I would go into these dark holes. And that dark hole for me is the darkest hole you can, which is suicide. It's that choice of life and death. And what kept drawing me towards color and light is like, if everything's dark and like there's no will, there's no nothing, what is that 1 ounce of light and color that's going to pull you through? What does that look like? That's what my art is. It's about accepting and being able to sit in every sort of darkness. And for me, and I've struggled with like suicide my whole life. And I've been in recovery for the last 7 years for alcohol. And no matter how many substances you take away, no matter whatever you do, that darkness can still be with you. So how do you sit with it? How do you accept it? And how do you move through it? Because it comes and goes. Life is going to throw you as many curveballs as it wants to. And in those times, what is that love that's going to sit with you? That's going to be like, okay, I need to get up. I need to take that next step. And that for me is kind of like this ongoing journey of really figuring that out. Why I created those big infinity mirrors that are supposed to be seen in a pitch black room. So the only thing you can grab onto is yourself and color. I went through a very hard time last year. And the last 6 months, I was like at that studio in LA. I sat with that mirror every night and it was not comfortable, but I could see everything about me because only like you really know everything about, like only you know everything about yourself. The funny part about like that finance Sean, that commercial real estate Sean, that's the analytical Sean that wants everything to be like black and white. You don't feel in black and white. You can rationalize it. You can analytically bring in data, bring in all these points, but you aren't able to fully feel. And that's where I lost who I was. And every time I play it safe, I lose who I am because you lose that core version of self. So that's why, no, you can share as much as you want. And a lot of times, like I talk about it, like especially in certain meetings, like in men's meetings too. Like you can't be afraid to show any sort of vulnerability, especially like I've done it in a group of like 50 plus men that are, and said, it's like, no, that pure darkness is that like suicidal aspect. The reason I mention that, because that's like my darkest form.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can pick yourself up through that. Anything that gets thrown to you is like, okay, cool. It's just understanding the tools. And that's why that like color and light it's just like, what does that look like? What does that feel? Because that's the same feeling of when everything's happy and exciting and loving, that's just going to be amplified. So it's being able to be present in both because like life's not always going to be good. So how can you then sit in that moment of struggle, like of sacrifice?
Wow. Thanks for sharing that. I love Yeah, it's powerful. So much I can relate to. Vulnerability in particular is something I agree with you. It's just so important to find that part of yourself to then express. I've been in this relatable struggle my whole life, and this year in particular has been heavily focused on therapizing and better understanding, and it's such an incremental process. But I really love how you capped it off with the darkness is real, it's heavy. We all have our own versions of it, and if you can just grab onto that little bit of light, it can help you take those steps forward and also not ignore or forget about this darkness, but just perhaps you can understand it better and better relate to yourself going from there. It's tipped over at the moment.
It's such a gift, Sean. Thank you for sharing that. That is so powerful. And it's like light at the end of the tunnel is often overused, but the fact that you actually spend those nights looking at yourself in the tunnel that you, with the reflector that you created yourself, with all the color and pulled yourself through that and how you've inspired others. Yeah, I'm very, very grateful for that story.
We gotta take the.
I've got questions I want to ask, but I'm like,
Why don't you just sit with it for a minute? Yeah, we got to take the TVs out of people's houses and put the Sean's Infinity mirrors with colors. That's what you need to. Then that needs to be the last thing you spend your time with at nighttime. That's incredible, man.
wow. You had times of, I guess, then feeling maybe lost until you found yourself. What was it that most pulled you forward?
It's saved my life more than I ever want to think it did. It's that, and like the only years that I did not do art was when I was in commercial real estate. And the reason why I say art is because it's that freedom of self. It's that like true expression. It's like, yes, it's my job. It's my career. So the one thing that I have to focus on is keeping it raw, real, and authentic.
Yeah.
And not losing that form because when that like feeling and drive and purpose get taken away, my art's not as good. It's not, well, it's not as meaningful. So that's for me where it's like, I have to stay true to myself on like, okay, if I know that's not here, what do I need to do? Do I need to work on something else? Do I need to like take my mind off of it? Do I need to go breathe for a couple of days? Like whatever it may be. But it's been art. And it's that way of like, cause sometimes for me specifically, that movement and that expression are more than words. There's sometimes when I can't express what's going on or I'm unable to talk about it or to communicate exactly what it is. I can have that conversation with whoever I'm creating to then find those words or find that strength to then talk about like, okay, cool. Now I really know what's going on. Now I can articulate it.
I can tell you I'm inspired to step into this practice on my own more. Art's been a rediscovery, as you've heard through this chat, little pieces. Most of my art I felt like was so tied to a very depressed, lonely version of myself. When it started as a young kid, protecting myself, very shielded, very reserved and shy, even though those weren't my true character traits. That's just who I thought I needed to be in a sense of self-preservation. And so as I came up as an adult, because I let it go, my art, and I let it stay there, it's only really now where I'm starting to, when I'm being an artist, when I'm doing my expression on paper or canvas, to redefine it in a bit. I mean, it doesn't have to, because it just felt so heavy and sad every time I put a pen or pencil in my hand. And I was allowing that to deter me. But really, I get so much, the value is really there in the art. And it's like, this conversation has really helped shove me way forward. But I've been on this journey to try and figure that out. Like, what is that piece? What am I missing? How do I do that? I'm so grateful for that inspiration in this chat. I'm excited to take that out of this call.
It's having the conversation, like in my opinion, what art can do for you, whether you're viewing it, creating it, watching your kids do it, your niece and nephew do it. It helps have a personal conversation between your conscious self and your subconscious self. And if you can connect the two, then you really can understand more of what your own self is trying to say. There's only one times where I don't create, and that's when I know there's so much noise in my head that I know it's not going to be healthy. And because there's a difference between like, okay, let me like get this out versus let me like just pause.
Right.
Is that when someone knows that they're a writer and they have all those noises in their head and that's their helpful?
I had a lady come in and she studies lines. unlike how people write and their like handwriting. I can tell a lot of what people have gone through by looking at how they write. And I was like, I didn't really believe that. And then she was translating it to art. So she was looking at my pieces, which were more fluid, versus another artist's pieces who's across from mine, who are very jagged. And she's literally telling us about like our own self. And I was like, wait, you're pretty spot on, because I knew the other artist. And I also know what his like art means and why he does it. And it was pretty impressive of understanding that. But like, whether you know that or not, it really doesn't necessarily matter, because it's how your mind relates to it. And why you may you can be like, okay, no, not for me. Versus other people are like, I don't know why I'm drawn to this, but I'm drawn to this.
I learned a little bit of that at a bodyguard school in Colorado, and I didn't use it as responsibly. I took it out to the bar scene and had people I met write things down for me, and I would analyze their life. It was more of a magic trick than it was a useful tool. But I love hearing that story. That's a better use of it.
Sure. You mentioned about connecting with two. My question to you is, if you had to meet Sean in the past, the guy that was trying to break out of being the analyst and seeing things black and white, he was working in commercial real estate, and he just knew art was going to be the thing that saved your life. Or you did or didn't know. If you were to revisit him and you could give him one piece of advice, because you've seen his future, what would that advice be?
Trust your gut. It's very simple, but it's very overlooked, because society, schools, if I could go back to, I went to boarding school for high school. Some of my favorite days and the darkest times though at that school is when I could just go at night to the art room. Either like literally like the gym to go work out or the art room. And if I could tell myself back then, it's like, trust your gut and know what you want and what that purpose that has been given to you. Because for me, it's not just that it saved my life, but it's like my purpose and passion of how I'm able to give back into the world and what I can share. That's beyond anything that's me. So it's kind of cliche and simple, but it's like, trust your gut and know what you want. It's like that self-confidence that like I've lost over and over again that I always have to end up going back to. That what am I being told? What is my body and what is my heart? And like whatever your higher power is, like showing me and telling me and guiding me to do. Get rid of all the noise. Because if you trust your gut, like, yes, you have to have a plan. A lot of life can happen, but your gut can guide you on where that plan needs to go. And if it's always in alignment, stuff can change. It's like, as long as you're kind of going towards that end state, it'll work out. Maybe tough at times, maybe great at times. It'll be both. But it's like, trust your gut in every decision that you make that's like for your purpose and for your like higher self.
Is there a misconception people might often have when they see your work? There's something that maybe you wish more people understood about you or art in general?
Whatever your initial thought is, go with it. You can overthink it. That's why I like to create different forms. And I'm doing these like new sculptures with tumbleweed and neon, involving like nature, like obviously machine made, organic aspects, lines, colors, obviously. But I want when people look at art, not just mine, but with anything, go with your initial reaction and trust it. That's what I want people to look at my art. You don't have to like every piece. You don't have to like it. Whether you like it or love it's cool. It's how does it feel for you? And that's what I think like the beauty of art is, because it evokes something deeper within yourself that you don't necessarily see. It's that the beauty of creation. It's the beauty of like seeing yourself. So that's what I'll say. Like if someone comes and looks at my art or comes to a show, don't overthink it. Just feel it.
You're so consistent. That's back to the trust your gut. Yeah. I think it's a quality life advice for sure. Get to the self-honesty and listening to your needs. Listen to your body. We tell our kids all the time, listen to your body. It seems kind of obvious, right? But it's not, isn't it? There's levels of listening to your body that can be overlooked or misunderstood. I think very, very important to stay in that practice.
But it also helps in life, because if you like learning how to emotionally regulate, like when I was very volatile, like I didn't know how to feel. I wasn't connected to my body. Like I was in my head more than anything. It's like, obviously when you dropped from your head to your heart, you're in your body, and it's a process. I mean, like I remember my dad saying on test, he's like, don't second guess yourself. Like if you know that answer, but you don't know why, but that's what it feels like, that's it. And if you get it wrong, you get it wrong. But most CEOs statistically get it right. And it's that same feeling.
Mm-hmm.
It's like as long like, or something doesn't feel right. Okay, just trust that feeling.
Yeah.
Like if you're hiking, cool. That direction doesn't feel good. Don't go in that direction.
Yeah. Intuition. Let it lead you. Yeah. Lovely.
Speaking of intuition and letting things lead us, let's just say that your next piece of art were completely unconstrained. No budget, no deadline, no expectations. What would you dare to show? What would that look like?
people's whole self. It's something I have planned that it's a mirror where you rotate between colors. Like if you've seen James Turrell, but it's a full body mirror. So you can walk into a room and you have to look at your whole self, your whole body. I've looked at it like how everyone's always subconscious. You have to accept and look at you, not just your head, not just all of you. And like whether you can add scientific data to it, there's a lot of studies that can be done around it, but you finally have to sit with you. And like, especially like with vets that have had like, or like someone with a disability or something has happened and you've struggled with that self-image, go sit with yourself, but then have a rotation where you can actually play with different colors. What color brings you happiness or some sort of joy or love? Okay, let's turn that color on. See how that affects you. Okay, opposite spectrum. What color makes you angry? Let's go to that color. Let's sit with it and figure out why. We don't have to resolve it, but you can then finally see that you're able to sit with both. And it's like having that self-image and that just doorway, because then you can also go in it with someone you love and see both of you together. Or honestly, like welcome to making amends in like certain like programs. Why don't you like them? And talk, like you don't have to necessarily do a dyad with them. Talk to the mirror. But it also goes back to during hardest times, it's said a lot, and I'll use like I statements. If I don't like myself, I cannot look in the mirror. So the only way through it is to then love yourself. But then if you have to end up accepting yourself for who you are, that's where color can be tied into it. So that's a project that I'm working on. There's unlimited budgets with coding and with fabrication. It's similar to what you saw, just bigger, but that's the direction.
That's phenomenal.
I'm so glad I asked that question. If I don't mind saying myself.
I'm coming to see it.
Amazing. Yeah.
Coming to see me.
Yeah.
But if any person or couple entity in the world, fictional, non-fictional, real, dead, live, could walk into that room and you got to see them whole selves, who would that be?
Oh,
It's kind of like the dinner party guest question.
honestly, having it to be accessible to everyone. It's why I love museums. I wouldn't want to name one person. I've had too many experiences where if you want to label it to someone, you restrict it to others. And the one thing I want to show for the mirrors is an experience for all to see. So if you walk into the Met, or especially like the Whitney, you walk into an exhibit seeing yourself. And so it's not like, oh, who is that person? It's letting everyone be able to see it.
Yeah, bravo.
If that makes sense. Because the example I can give you that's real quick is I did a painting of my grandfather who passed away. And when I graduated high school, we showed it to my grandmother and we like displayed it. And she immediately started crying. And I remember my English teacher showed up and he goes, hold that. And at that time, I didn't know what he was talking about. And it's like giving the gift of emotionally, like having someone be opened up and to feel. He's like, that gift that you've been given, follow that. Him saying that to me, I had to realize it later on, but it's part of like my purpose in my art. And that's why it's like, okay, dinner party it. It's like, why when I had dinner parties in my house, I love inviting everyone. It's like, who do you know? It's like, okay, let's bring this person. This would be fun. That would be fun. It's that. And like why I do love museums and like that's the direction for these, because I want someone who's going through some heavy, heavy stuff to walk in and accept themselves, to see themselves in a new light, see themselves in an art exhibit.
I felt that hug from over here.
Yeah. About, I don't know if I directly answered your question because I kind of like went around it, but that's for me, that's what resonates. It's someone who's also having the best day of their lives, can see themselves in that light because that can stay within their whole life. Like that expression on their face, those eyes, take that because that you can give to your kids, your family, yourself, anyone.
That was beautiful, mate.
Lovely. Yeah.
You couldn't have answered that better.
Yeah, we got a version 2. I want to do more of this conversation. If you're up for it.
Yeah.
Let's keep this going. We'll have an ongoing saga.
Color theory, color psychology, related emotions, how colors pull us through the dark. I feel very inspired. Sure, where can we see more of your work?
I have one piece up in LA at a collective, but right now I'm mainly focused on a work that I'm going to be showing actually in Atlanta next year. It's going to be a series. So a lot of the new that I'm working on now, but like currently just Instagram, Sean Crim Art, website, seancrim.com. Instagram tells it more. I'm working on a lot of videos to explain a lot of it for people to see, to connect with. That's where you can kind of like follow along. And then as exhibits pop up and different experiences pop up, which there'll be a lot next year, you'll kind of like have that understanding by following it that way.
Lovely. I'll be in Atlanta. I've got stuff going on in Atlanta. I'll come out and see you, Sean.
Perfect. It'll be fun.
Oh, thank you, Sean. You are free to go, my friend.
Well, thank you both. I really appreciate it. Glad we could do this. And
Yeah.
if you need a conversation, just let me know.
Thanks, Sean.
You guys.
Talk to you soon, mate.
Bye.
Cheers.
Wow. Yeah, I'm gonna pull over as well. That was magical. What a guy.
It is really challenging not to just, in essence, reward his vulnerability and sharing by being like, oh, here's what's going here's what's happened in my life as well. It takes a lot of restraint to not want to openly be vulnerable and share with someone like Sean, who made himself so available, so honest, who clearly, with all the struggles that human beings we face, he's got his version of that. And he's in practice on a regular basis, looking for ways to express himself, to understand himself, to help others do the same. That is a lovely human being right there. And I'm glad he let us in. And I see him, not just visually seeing him, and I see him through myself. I see him through you, other people close to me who I know live this life, struggle, do their best, find ways to help meditation, fitness, art, professional endeavors, whatever it is we claw at to provide relief and positivity and light, kids, family, etc., partners, dancing, singing, acting. Oh man, I'm overflowing at the moment, as you can tell. What a lovely chat.
Let's see how it can impact his animal, which is beautiful. That's exactly what I was hoping for. That's what happened to me when I met him in Los Angeles. So I remember walking away from him, it was like an explosion of colors, which I guess is what he does. And if there's anything I took from today, I think I'm learning to love orange again. I'm not just talking about his luscious red locks. I'm talking about his point of view has totally shifted how I see color, which is a life lesson.
What an opportunity to hear those ideas. I remember you telling me about meeting him, about his art, and boy, did I underestimate that story, that experience. Did I ever?
Never underestimate me again, young man.
We're learning lessons every day, Tommy, reinforced lessons.
Yeah, go check out Sean, at Sean Crim. Go check out his very colorful work. I'm speechless. If there's anyone you feel needs to listen to the words that were spoken today, welcome to share. And we're very grateful for you taking the time to listen. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Tommy. Thank you, Collins. We're in the space of acknowledging ourselves as well. Thank you, everybody out there listening through the mirror. Thanks for everyone on their podcast listening platform choice. I just feel knocked over with that whole experience.
I have to go and meet a theater producer now. Wait, let me rephrase that. I want to go and meet a theater producer right now. I'm going to meet a theater producer.
You get to.
Yeah. Can't wait to shed some color into that conversation.
I love it. Stage acting. Tell me on the theater stage. I'm such a fan.
Can you imagine?
I can imagine. I fantasize about that. I'm so excited. I can't wait to hear what happens. I'm hopeful you get yourself a role. Everybody who's listening, rediscover your art, whatever that is. I think Sean put it very eloquently when he said, even if that is experiencing others' art close by, that is a wonderful way to be in your own art practice. Boundaries are broken. The possibilities are limitless. You matter. Your feelings matter. Your experiences matter. Your art matters. Better understand. Be honest with yourself. Be vulnerable with others. Let people in. Be accepting. Accept yourself. Open your doors. Show them your art.
Yeah, he's not joking. I've seen his list and he's almost there.
Don't forget Sean Crim, the independent. He's a...
Next week we have Trent Crim from Ted Lasso.
His cousin. Yeah, don't forget to wear hoodies. Yeah, Tommy's got to go. Don't forget to wear hoodies for every Truly Becoming podcast call.
I'm out.
I'm out. Ciao.